So hello everybody, welcome to this session where I'm going to talk about 6 things that deplete your energy and 6 strategies to help improve your energy. So if you did join me live, there were some tech issues. I kept hearing myself repeating myself, and so I closed the session. So my name's Pimenta. I make videos and share free resources exploring mind-body approaches and practical approaches for people with ME, CFS, long COVID, fibromyalgia and related conditions. Just to be really clear, these are very real physical conditions, but we also know that our mind can affect our body. If you'd like to know more about that, check out Dr. Gabor Mate's book, When the Body Says No, and Dr. Bessel van der Kolk's book, The Body Keeps the Score. Both of those talk about the research that illustrates the mind-body connection in health. Okay, so I think it's very important not to ignore that aspect of health. So I invite you just for a moment to close your eyes. Obviously, close your eyes only if it's safe to do so. This is how I start each resilience group coaching session that I have each week. So I invite you to close your eyes, I say only if it's safe. I invite you to breathe in through your nose into your belly and breathe out of your nose as long as that's comfortable. As you breathe in, breathing in the oxygen. As you breathe out, just letting your mind, body relax, soften and let go. Again, take a breath in, breathing in the oxygen which gets into your lungs, gets picked up by the blood and nourishes your cells. As you breathe out, you're just letting go of anything that right now you don't need. One more time, breathe in through your nose into your belly. Breathe out of your nose, allowing your mind and body to relax and allowing you to access the healing state. I invite you just to do that from time to time. Any time you need to just ground yourself, center yourself, bring yourself back into balance. So feel free to carry on listening with your eyes closed if you wish, or you can open your eyes now and we'll dive into the topic. So thanks again for joining me, those of you who have. Feel free to say hi in the chat, say where you are in the world. So we're going to talk about this topic. First of all, we're going to start with 6 things that deplete your energy. And I might just go to the iPad so we can just make a note of these things. So the first thing that can deplete our energy is stress. Let's choose a color for this. Okay, stress. And in particular, psychological stress. We know that psychological stress can activate the fight-flight mechanism. And what this means is that we can be operating from fear. Consider there's a part of you that operates from a place of trust. That part of you has wisdom and has shown up many times in your life. And there is also a part of you that operates from fear. What can happen for some people, and I include myself in this, is that the fear part can take over. So even before I had ME, CFS, I was a worrier. I worried a lot about things. And so that fear part of me took over. Okay, so that's the first thing that can actually affect our energy. The second thing is repressing or suppressing emotions. Now, this is a learned behavior. It's a way of staying safe if we're in environments where we learn very quickly that it's not okay to express our emotions. Dr. John Sarno believed that if there was no physical cause of pain and symptoms, then repressed emotions were the cause of this. So I invite you to consider, what are examples that you have of repressing or suppressing your emotions resulting in symptoms. So let me know in the chat, what are your thoughts about this? For me, a common example is that when we feel upset, we get a lump in our throat. I know that often if I'm watching a film that's emotional and I find it very moving, I get a lump in my throat. I get tension in my neck and shoulders because I've been so conditioned to not kind of let out emotion. And I probably need to have a little bit of a cry, because something's very moving, etc. But I'm very conditioned not to do that, okay? Consider what's your relationship, for example, to anger. When you feel angry, where do you notice that in your body? Okay, let me know in the chat. Be interested to get your perspective. What is your comfort level around expressing anger? So for me, if I get angry, and I had an experience yesterday where I got angry even though I didn't want to and thought that I wouldn't get angry. I was having to communicate to someone, and I could feel this tension in my stomach, and I could feel tension in my neck and shoulders. Okay, and in the past, I wouldn't have even maybe been consciously aware of that because I was so good at just repressing my emotions. But I've learned to get better at that, and so I adopted some strategies to express my emotions in a way that was safe and appropriate, and it helped me release some of that tension in my body. Okay, so that's the second thing, repressing and suppressing emotions. I did actually make a video where I talked about, is that the next slide? Yeah. How being treated badly or unfairly can affect your energy, and I shared 4 strategies. So do check out that video. It's only 5 minutes, but I think there's some really useful information in that video. So that's the second thing, repressing, suppressing emotions. Third thing is not actually listening to our emotional brain. So one of the things I've been learning about recently is the distinction between our thinking brain and our emotional brain. So consider that your heart and your gut are really useful parts of our body that give us important information. They kind of are like our early warning system, okay? And many of us, for the reasons I've just talked about, we've got good at repressing, suppressing emotions, then we find that we're not very good at listening to our emotional brain. Consider that the nerves from the heart and the gut, there's more nerves that go up to the brain than come down in the other direction. So the brain is processing the information we get from our heart and our gut. How often have you had a gut feeling that something doesn't feel right, and that feeling was accurate? Okay, so often we suppress our emotional brain and we pay more attention to our thinking brain, and that's partly because in society, rationality, logic is valued, and emotions are downgraded in importance. What actually we need is to find a balance, get the emotional brain and the thinking brain working together. Okay, so the next thing, as a result of us suppressing our emotions because we get the feeling that that's how we're going to stay safe, we develop what I call adaptive behaviors. Oops. So for example, and I've talked about this before, we develop these behaviors as a way of attempting to get love, safety, connection. So behaviors might include perfectionism, people pleasing, being an overachiever, a worrier, overthinker. Or you might identify some that I haven't mentioned. But let me know in the chat, which of those patterns do you relate to? Perfectionist, people pleaser, overachiever, worrier, overthinker. Okay, let me know in the chat. I'm not sure the chat's working, so it'd be great to, if someone posts something, just to let me know that that is working. So that's the fourth thing. We can develop these adaptive behaviors as an attempt to get love, safety, connection. But they can limit us because, for example, they can drive the next thing that can deplete our energy, which is being caught up in a pattern of boom and bust. So we get some energy and we tend to overdo it because we want to get things done, or we're wanting to be, to achieve stuff. Sometimes we just get carried away and enjoy having the energy, and that's understandable. But if our energy is a bit fickle, then we need to kind of know how to manage it until we actually stabilize our energy. All right. So that's the pattern of boom and bust. The next thing that can deplete our energy is our beliefs. Okay. If we've got beliefs that, such as I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, we are creating stories that are not factual. Okay. And often when I'm working with clients, they say things as if they're true, and actually it's an opinion rather than a fact. There's a very interesting book that I've been reading called The Expectation Effect by, I think I'm going to say Dave Robson, but I might have his first name wrong. I've got the book downstairs. And he talks about some of the fascinating research that illustrates the power of the expectation effect. So there is, the placebo effect is an example of that. The placebo effect being the effect produced by the power of our belief. Okay, and there's also the nocebo effect, where we expect, bad symptoms, and they happen as a result of the belief. We know that if you give someone an inert tablet, but they have the belief it has a therapeutic effect, for some of the people, they will have therapeutic benefits. There was one study where there's a poisoned ivy, and for some people their skin comes up in a rash if it brushes their skin. And so they blindfolded some boys and they brushed their arm with a harmless branch, and they told them it was the poison ivy, and the skin came up in the rash. They brushed the other arm with the poison ivy, but they told them it was a harmless branch, and they had no reaction. So that's a fascinating example of the power of belief. And often our beliefs are subconscious. We don't even realize that we are running a belief that is influencing our experience. So for example, if I've had the experience many times that when I do a certain amount of physical activity that results in a crash, then it is possible that even when I've got the energy and my body is functioning, that I'm going to experience those symptoms because I have that expectation that that's what's going to happen. All right. So it is really important to consider that. And, there are strategies that I was sharing in the group coaching yesterday about how to approach movement in a way where we can feel confidence, and having that feeling of confidence means that we're not going to be generating stress when we do the physical activity, and that over time can help build our capacity for physical activity because we're not stressing, we're not using energy up through stress. And I'll talk more about the whole relationship between energy and stress in a more scientific way in a video soon. Okay, so they're the 6 things that can deplete our energy. Okay, so in a moment we'll talk about 6 strategies, but before we do that, I invite you just tune in, close your eyes for a moment and just tune in to what your body needs right now. Might just be that you need to take a few slow, calm breaths, or it might be that you need, it'd be useful for you to just stretch. I'm going to just kind of stretch my body, just twist around. Might be that you just gently shake your body. Do whatever feels appropriate that's within your capacity. And I say I'm not seeing any comments, so if anyone wants to drop a comment just so that I know the comments are working, then feel free to do that. But yeah, just do whatever you feel you need to do right now. Have a little stretch or a shake or whatever you need. I invite you to consider that just really getting in touch with your body actually is the first step towards getting better at connecting with your emotions. So let's talk about the 6 strategies that can help improve your energy. So the first one is to make that shift. Just seeing someone's Katie comment. Thank you, Katie. Thanks for that. It's good to know. All right. First one is that we make that shift from fear to trust. Okay. So I run a program, a course called Building Resilience. It's a 12-week program, and there are 9 areas that I focus on. And the first part of the course is focusing on helping people make that shift from fear to trust. Now, you are most welcome to just check out my YouTube channel. There's lots of videos covering some of the topics that I cover on that course. And, you know, they're not necessarily in any particular order, so you might get a bit of what I cover in part 5, another video on part 6, etc. But I am actually going to be starting a new course soon, and I'm inviting people to join me for week 1, part 1, where we're going to focus on getting clarity about what's hindering your progress, what's getting in the way. And I'm also going to be sharing tools to help people make that shift from fear to trust. So I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end. But that's the first part, is to actually make that shift from fear to trust. Now, as someone who was very good at being in fear, what I've learned by learning all these tools that I've learned over the years is how to make that shift so that the part of me that operates from trust is able to take care of the part of me that's operating from fear. Okay, and that is completely transformational, to go from someone who was in fear a lot of the time to being someone who operates much more from a place of trust. Okay, so that's the first part. Second thing is to work with emotions. Okay, so as I say, first part of that is learning to connect to our body and learning to feel our emotions, to accept our emotions, learning how to process our emotions and act on our emotions in ways that are appropriate. We know that repressing, suppressing emotions isn't good for us. We also know that venting isn't good. Okay, some people, you might know someone who's just angry all the time. That's not good. So we need to learn how to process our emotions and then express them in ways that are appropriate. Okay, so the next part is to learn how to listen to our emotional brain. Okay, this part of us is really interested and focuses on meeting our needs. Okay, and the emotional brain will generate symptoms when we're not meeting our needs. So, for example, when you don't speak up when you need to, then that your body's telling you that something isn't okay, and that's a call for action. Often people ask me, if I've got symptoms, do I need to rest? There might be times when it's appropriate to rest. And again, I've made a video on this. There might be times where actually the body's producing symptoms because we're bored. Okay, we need to find a balance between overstimulation and understimulation. Okay, there's a sweet spot. Okay, and sometimes, we need some connection. We need some fun. We need some joy. So, for example, I decided, because I'm going out tomorrow night, on Saturday, on Sunday, I'm going to stay in tonight. But I just thought actually it'd be nice to have some connection. So I just messaged a couple of friends saying, are you around tonight? Because we often meet up if we're all at home online and just have a chat, play some games online. All right. And I just felt, actually, yeah, it'd be good to have some connection. All right. So it's really important that we learn how to listen to and respond to our emotional brain, which is very interested in helping us meet our needs. So the next thing we need to do is to heal our adaptive behaviors and create more, let's call them wholesome behaviors. Okay? So rather than being an overachiever, being able to discern what's appropriate, rather than being a perfectionist, being able to recognize when we've done a good enough job. Okay, instead of being a worrier, being able to be more pragmatic. Instead of being a people pleaser, learning to find that healthy balance between taking care of ourselves and showing concern and care for others. Okay. I used to be an overthinker. I used to overanalyze. I used to dwell on things. I used to have things going round in my head over and over, especially if someone had treated me unfairly. I had an incident yesterday which caused me to make that video I mentioned earlier. And I've been able to let go of it because I was able to process it. Okay. So instead of boom and bust, we need to have sustainable approaches, okay, to movement and activity. All right. So this involves identifying those beliefs that and our mindsets that are causing us to boom and bust, and also to identify our wildly important goal, because when we are clear about our wildly important goal, then it's easier to do activities that are aligned with our wildly important goal as opposed to our mildly important goal. Okay, so for example, the mildly important goal is I want to get this task done, and so we overdo it and then we kind of have a bit of a dip or a setback. Whereas if we're aligned with our wildly important goal, then we can approach that activity in a way that's more sustainable. It might be just to set an alarm, and when the alarm goes off, we develop the mindset, it's okay to stop now, because by doing that, I'm putting some energy in the bank. Okay, so sixth thing is that we need to identify and shift those limiting beliefs. So again, we have beliefs that are supporting us, okay, and that are healthy. So, as I say, I'm starting the 12-week Building Resilience course in a couple of weeks, and you are welcome to join me for the first part of that, okay, where we're going to focus on getting clarity, understanding what's getting in the way of making progress, and I'm going to share tools to help people shift from fear to trust, helping you get in touch with that part of you that is wise, connecting to your wise self. It's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to learn some really useful, actionable tools, which when I learned have just made a massive difference to me. There'll be a live Q&A session, and there's no obligation to carry on with the course. Okay, I'm not going to be doing any hard selling. I hate hard selling, so I don't do it. If you'd like to continue, that'd be great. If you don't, that's completely fine as well. So if you'd like to join me and the others for that first part of the course, then just comment course below. I'll send you the details. Okay, if you've got any questions, then leave a comment. I'd love to know what your takeaway is from this session. If you focus on those 6 areas, which is the one that would be most useful for you to work on. And as I say, do check out my YouTube channel. I've got lots of videos. So if you're interested in understanding more about emotions, just go to the playlist on emotions. Check that out. If you want to know more about breaking the pattern of boom and bust, there's a video on that. Okay, so there is lots of videos. You're welcome to just explore my channel. But yeah, let me know, what's your takeaway from this session? What's one action you're going to take? If you'd like more tips, you're welcome to join my Facebook group. I'll put the link below. I'm also active on TikTok and Instagram. There's more content on TikTok, but again, I'll put the links below this video, so check them out. If you've got any questions, get in touch. But thanks for joining me. Wishing you great health. Bye for now.